All right, welcome back to the Chasing Rings podcast. What's up, fellas? Hope
Hey, how you doing?
well. The coaching carousel is spinning fast, and currently we still have three openings: Arizona, Cleveland, and Las Vegas. There's been some movement since our last show, obviously, when we talked about this topic. Um, Over the weekend, we had Mike McCarthy hired as the Steelers' new coach, and just about a couple of hours ago, we had Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady promoted to head coach for the Bills, which was a shocking announcement. Let's start in Buffalo. G, do you think this was the right move for Buffalo?
At first I said no. I really didn't think McDermott should have been, bounced out of there. I mean, just with the record, I mean, how hard is it to get to the playoffs? It's pretty hard. So that was kind of my thinking. And second part of that thinking was, well, who else are you going to hire who can constantly get that team to at least to the playoffs, much less through. But that kind of changed in preparation for this our session today. I went through the Bills' playoff history, and a long story short, it was the defense. I mean, while the defense wasn't the worst in the league, they were the ones allowing the points. A lot of close losses. So, so with that, I say, well, you know what? And also, I learned that McDermott was calling the defensive plays. So, if that's the case, I'm like, you know what? Standing back, objective, big picture, new information into the hopper, which is my mind. Yeah, it may be time for him to go try something different elsewhere. And the person that they hired, Brady, he was already calling the offensive plays. So, for the most part, I thought he was doing in my research, he was doing pretty well. There were some bad turnovers historically speaking in the playoffs. I'm looking at my notes. There was some, blown opportunities in the playoffs on offense. So yes, it's not perfect, but they were at least putting up the numbers to win. It's just the defense was allowing the other team to put up greater numbers. So yeah, I like the hire. I changed my mind. I do believe McDermott probably needed to go and kind of reflect on his approach to defense.
Yeah, I think it's interesting um, that they did stick with an existing coach. I was one of
Mhm.
those folks, and obviously as a Bills fan, thought that McDermott had pretty much outstayed his welcome. He had done pretty much everything he could do with this team. I thought he took them as far as he could take them. I was not a fan of the internal hire when we first spoke about this, but I didn't have much of a reaction to it today, and I almost felt relieved, to be quite honest
Hmm.
with you. Like there was a calmness when I heard it. Like, okay, this might at least allow us to stabilize things with somebody who's already been in the building. The players are going to feel comfortable with him, and that was important from my perspective because the amount of emotion that we saw from the players after the loss at Denver, I just thought, man, I know we joked about, man, Josh is going to need us a sports site. Some of these other players might need a sports site. Like, how do we get this team back together mentally?
Right.
um, to recover from not only losing a game in a devastating manner, but also losing their leader that they've had for
Hmm.
almost the last decade.
Right.
So I've definitely switched my opinion on it. I think that this works. I think it's interesting that he got a 5-year deal, which is there's 5 years remaining on Josh's contract. So I think it's
Oh, really?
yeah,
I
I
didn't
think
pick. I didn't peek that one.
yeah, I think it's a win now or rebuild
It's like
essentially.
we win together or we lose together.
Exactly. And I think that had they gone outside, I feel that you might have had a little bit of a rebuild, at least from a cultural perspective, because you have somebody who's not familiar with the organization or the players who now needs to come in and infuse his own culture while also kind of understanding and assimilating into the culture of the Bills organization, which is right now, even knows what that is based on that
Right.
fiasco press conference that we saw.
And so that's what I
So
was getting ready to say about the press conference, but go ahead.
so yeah, it's like I felt like this can kind of override that mess that we saw. Somebody who knows what the issues are, probably knows what it takes to get them to the next level, right? I mean, none of us have been the top dog in our jobs, but we've always had opinions, whether we kept them to ourselves or expressed
Right.
them. We should probably be doing this, and then it would be
Right.
right. So there's that aspect of it that I think Joe Brady could possibly bring. I'm sure he knows intimately more than anybody what we're missing.
Yeah.
I think that when you score 30 points in a playoff game and lose on the road after you had 5 turnovers, you have to
Right.
look at the coach. I think the way that he was fired is always going to stick with me. Not comfortable with that at all. I didn't like it at all. But nonetheless, I think it's something that had to be done. So,
You brought up something about the psychology of it all. I also think that press conference, it did not give the owner and the GM, I forget what his new title is. I don't think it gave them being the players any confidence in them because the way they just threw McDermott under the bus. And wasn't it also one of the receivers? Which one was it?
Keon Coleman.
Yeah, Keon Coleman just threw them under the bus. So I think that part of it from a psychological perspective and people knowing that the offense, did its job, lose by 3 in 2025, play a division championship, the conference championship, you lose by 3 in 2024. I'm looking at stats right here. Division 2023 division championship, lose by 3. I'm like, the offense is doing its job.
Mm-hmm.
The offense is doing its job. I think so. Keeping that person there is good. That makes the defense, the special teams, the coaches coming in, knowing that we're going to still have that core piece of there. And and like you said, is you're still bringing in somebody who I think can calm the nerves because
Right.
he knows that leadership, even though they threw those two people under the bus. So
Totally, totally agree. So we'll see where this goes. What about you, big dude?
Well, I I think the Brady hire it was a surprise to me. Um, I thought they would wait until the Super Bowl to see what other opportunities may happen. To be honest with you, but I think with the transition with the stadium, the team, and who is it that you can get to trust? I think to actually coach Josh Allen. I think that might be the good part about it is I'm not so sure under McDermott he could coach Josh Allen the way he really wanted to coach him. So they could have waited a couple more weeks. Um, I would be concerned if I thought Brady was going to be a lame duck, but I did see that Brady got a 5-year contract, so that doesn't appear to be the case. But I think that it'll be interesting to see. Unless I missed it, um, did anybody slide in Brady's position yet? Unless I missed that, did anybody else become OC for the Bills as a result of this? I haven't seen that yet.
I haven't seen it announced.
I
Um,
haven't seen it
but
either.
if anybody comes there who's going to be the OC, I think it's got to be Brady. Them letting him coach Josh Allen and getting the season started off the way it needs to get started with the enthusiasm that it needs. The only question that I have um, is that will Brady go into a role that's going to be the CEO role? As I mentioned to you before, Brady I've seen it, he has the eclectic experience and a number of other things. Him actually being in charge and him being connected to the community and responding to these expectations, I think will be the next biggest thing. So he was able to do some of that, became interim to kind of get himself going. But he's into this position, so he's very familiar with getting in the position and getting started and getting to a good transition. So I think the Brady situation, it could work, but they're going to need to figure out how much authority they're going to give Brady and how the players will be connected with his transition.
I also think too that there seems to have been some dissension within that organization. Like I'm hearing more and more reports about people not being happy with McDermott, both players, and I'm getting the sense of some coaches. And I almost feel, and again, this is just my instinct and my gut from what I've heard and read recently, is that it almost seemed like it was the building against McDermott. And what I mean is I don't think they maybe agree with some of his decisions in game. I know definitely there was something with him and Bean with regards to drafting and getting the players that he needed, disagreements there. And, obviously Pagula was totally out of it and sided with Bean on this. I don't think he knew anything that was going on with his team. But I think there's some dissension there. And I also think the fact that Dable was not selected over Brady, being more experienced than Brady, because remember, he was the OC over Brady when they were there together. And he's had a head coaching position already. That also says something about what the organization may have thought about Dable. I know that Dable and McDermott had also butt heads, but did Dable also butt heads with anyone else within the organization? So I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes here with Buffalo right now, that they probably need to resolve that before they even think about moving forward. Even though they've hired a new coach, there still needs to be some other things that need to be repaired for this team to move forward. So I think Brady should concentrate on the players, and then I think Brady and the leadership and upper management need to get their acts together if this team is going to be successful, because they're still competitive. They're still right there. There's no reason that they couldn't be a playoff team again next year, but, the mindset has to be right and the culture has to be right.
So here's a question I have, and I'm going to also, let me send this to Steph so he'll know. I truly believe two things. Brady was hired because he is good at calling plays and working with that side of the ball. I also would not be surprised that Allen lobbied for him. Would not be surprised. So,
Great.
I mean, you got a future Hall of Fame quarterback, so you definitely got to listen to what he says. If I'm wrong, let me know about that.
No, I agree.
So I'm thinking. So now I'm asking myself the question: when they bring in a new offensive coordinator, is it going to be one of those situations where the person is the OC, but Brady is going to still call those offensive plays, or is he going to give that up? And if he gives that up, does that change that chemistry on the offense?
See, that's one of the things that I really worry about. And we talked about this in a previous episode about these coordinators and coaches kind of clashing when the coach has an expertise on one side of the ball. Are they trumping the coordinator and making decisions, or are they letting the coordinator actually coordinate the game?
Exactly.
Steph, Big Dude, how do you think a new OC will mesh with Brady about play calling?
Can't hear you.
Let Brady have some authority. I guess the question is, are you going to have an active OC? The thing is, I think with Allen, he doesn't need too many people nagging at him when he's trying to make all these incredible plays that he makes. I think there's going to be a question of the way that probably the new coordinator would have to be a step-by-step person, more so than letting everything just happen. Although the system will dictate it, and Allen is good enough to run the offense pretty much on his own in a lot of ways. But I think you're going to need to have someone who is more structured and what they're able to do to add to it. And of course, the head coach having the last say. But I think this person certainly is going to be, again, is going to have to be able to coach Allen and to understand that it's going to take a while for him to break in, but still support Allen and support Brady and how Brady wants everything to look, and also working with the receivers and all the other folks that are in the offense. You know, they have a good young receiver. The Bills, you're going to have to figure out how to get their whole offense going, and how's he going to play an important role, but how appropriate will it be in terms of him having authority and them giving him authority to coach Josh Allen, and I think a prescriptive way, especially at the very beginning, before letting him off the leash.
Okay, thanks, big dude. All right, moving into the Pittsburgh hire. G, what do you think about Pittsburgh hiring Mike McCarthy to replace Mike Tomlin? Is it the best fit for Pittsburgh? And what do you think this means for Aaron Rodgers?
Well, they have some history, but I don't know all the ins and outs of those two as coach and player. I mean, there could be things in the background that we don't know about. So I'm not going to automatically say that relationship is or is not there. But he's been to Super Bowls. I'm looking at my notes. Been to the playoffs many, many times. Has a good. I think he's 11 in playoffs. I want to say. You can fact check me. Um, Here's the thing. He will definitely build a leadership team and the players that'll keep them going to the playoffs. I truly believe that will happen at Pittsburgh. I don't know if that means he's going to win another Super Bowl, though. I can't automatically say that because all those times he's only won one Super Bowl. I guess if he won multiple, I might say at least there's a high possibility. But just winning one after all these years, I say I don't know. But I'll definitely say he'll get them to the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, at first, when we first talked about who would be best to fill these positions, I was not a fan of the Mike McCarthy to Pittsburgh possibility. But in hindsight, I think it's the perfect fit for them. I think they need a calming influence over the organization as they prepare for transition and to move on from the Mike Tomlin area. I think one of the great things, at least that I appreciated from afar about Tomlin, is that no matter what the Steelers organization was going through, he always stabilized them, right?
Yeah.
Which is illustrated in them never having a losing season. Big Ben retires. Everyone's worried about, oh, what's going to happen? They haven't had that caliber of quarterback since, but they've still managed to make playoff appearances and, again, not have a losing season. He's dealt with the Antonio Brown situation, which gets toll on the organization. Certainly this year, bringing in Aaron Rodgers, having brought in Justin Fields. Through all this turmoil, Tomlin was able to keep them together. And I think that McCarthy can help with that transition so that they don't kind of take this dive before they're able to start their ascension back to, whatever the future looks like for them. So I think he'll be good. He's a proven coach. I agree with you 100% on the Super Bowls. I think that it appears that Mike McCarthy on the outside has been more successful than he actually has, but it's only been that one Super Bowl, and it's been so long ago. I don't even remember how long ago it was. But we know it was so long ago that Aaron Rodgers was on that team, and it was really early in Rodgers' tenure with Green Bay. Rodgers was there several more years after that without them winning anything.
Exactly.
So it's been a while. But I think he's a good fit. I think what he needs to figure out is what his staff's going to look like. I know he started to make some hires. He hired Arthur Smith already to run the offense. But I think he needs to look at who's the quarterback going to be next year. Are they going to draft? I thought they really fumbled the ball this past draft because a lot of quarterbacks were getting overlooked. I mean, regardless of how you feel about Shador, he was sitting there. I certainly would have drafted him, even if he sat behind Rodgers all year. That would have been a year of experience of learning without having to really be thrown in too much of a pressure cooker. So they need to figure out that quarterback situation. And they have some aging people on their defense that they need to think about replacing. So I think the Steelers are in an interesting situation, a lot of variables that they need to think about. And I think Mike McCarthy I think being more of that CEO type of coach might be exactly what they need right now. And I really anticipate him getting them to being a little bit more competitive. And I think it'll be the next coach, honestly, before, no disrespect to Mike McCarthy, I think it'll be the coach after McCarthy that gets the Steelers back to where they truly want to be.
You know, you brought up something that was really interesting is that, I mean, you're right. I mean, if they would, and I'm not caping for Shedeur Sanders. I mean, I'm a fan of him, but I also understand his strengths and weaknesses even coming out of college. But oh my God, one, Aaron Rodgers likes the cat, right? And if they would have gotten him, if he probably would have been number 2 on the roster. And what better coach to have in this circumstance than Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
You know, he has Aaron Rodgers giving him tips, playing the game. In the offseason, he has Tom Brady giving him tips. I'm like, that would have been great for Pittsburgh. So you're right. They severely dropped the ball.
Absolutely. Big dude, what are your thoughts on Mike McCarthy?
Well, I think McCarthy, from the standpoint of, I think the Steelers, they wanted to change. And as much as they respected Tomlin for having all those non-losing seasons, the Steeler fans were ready for a change. What I've been able to hear and what I've been able to read, the Steelers fans still are not sold on this particular hire. They think that a lot of the discussion is, and some of the local media, will it be more of the same? Now, I think McCarthy would be a good fit because McCarthy has been involved with transitions. He's worked closely with upper management, not just at Green Bay for all those years that he was there, but also, of course, with the Cowboys and trying to find out where those changes would be, and really not just what the media and all the other folks wanted, but all the things that changed between Jerry and Steve Jones. That's a difficult thing to coach there. I know it's always an intriguing job, but I think this job is intriguing because there's only been a small number of people who actually have been coaches for the Steelers since 1969. They have the defensive background. You have Chuck Knowles. You had Tomlin. And of course you had Bill Cowers. Who used to play linebacker. And now you have McCarthy, who is a coach and is used to calling the plays himself. So I think the other thing that will be in this situation, do they get an OC or will it have to be a hands-off OC? I think that's the first thing they're going to have to decide, because many of the folks, again, have trouble running a team as the head coach. And some people can call the plays, do things with great timing, but there's an overall responsibility to the game. And he showed that it can work. Not too many people can do that. I think that's why McCarthy is good for the Steelers, because McCarthy will have the direct input and has taken the accountability for himself. So I like that about him. On to, what it would be for Aaron Rodgers. I think they were together for all those years. And I think 2018 was the first year that they weren't together. So one, from, again, not just from what I see and from what I can gather, that everybody would think that would go back to its natural state. And here we go, back to Rodgers and back to McCarthy. I would say the opposite in this particular situation, because Aaron Rodgers just is not the same quarterback, and I think the demands in this transition are different. I think Aaron Rodgers can help get you there. He can help you knock on the door. But the Steelers fans, I think, are done with Aaron Rodgers as well. And I think McCarthy, while he has a lot of loyalty personally to Aaron Rodgers, he also realized how to come out of the gate in this situation, because the Steeler fans and the Steeler Nation will not give you the time that you need to get started. They want to see a lot better than last year to begin with. Maybe not a Super Bowl just yet, but within a few years, they want you to be knocking on the door. So Aaron Rodgers, the question will be will he be able to help anyone like that? And I think the Steelers would be the first place where he would be able to help, but not like he really needs to with McCarthy. This is where McCarthy is 62 years old. He's in a different way than most of the other coaches. And actually, when you look McCarthy up, it says that he's retired. So you have to look at the way he sees this particular job. What is the value of the job? Not only just how intriguing in it, but is he going to have the energy to take on this change and transition? I don't believe, though, that Aaron Rodgers will be the answer with them working together. I think that has availed itself of them going their separate ways. So I don't see that Rodgers can be the quarterback.
All right, G. Any final comments about either of these hirings?
Yeah, I'm picking up on something Steph said. I was looking at some articles up here on the screen. Long story short, so yeah, they being Aaron Rodgers and McCarthy. I mean, toward the end, it seems to have had a little rocky relationship. But listening to Rodgers, he's kind of like, it is what it is. Essentially, we're good. But I definitely, like Steph said, this is a different situation. McCarthy has been around for a minute. I think he took some time off before this one, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
he
he
took
didn't
some time
coach
off.
this year. Yep.
Right. And so he's coming back probably a little rusty as a coach, as a CEO. And then you have Rodgers, who, I mean, there's no guarantee he's going to come back. And honestly, I mean, I thought he did good just to help them get where they are. I don't know if he has it in him to pull them to a championship. I mean, you never know.
Mhm.
Tom Brady went down to Tampa Bay and pulled it out, but he had a
Mhm.
wonderful supporting cast. So if they can make some improvements in different places, it's possible. You could see that he still has the arm. He can still throw the passes that need to be thrown. So I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I hate Pittsburgh, but I'm actually going to follow them pretty closely next season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Well, there's 3 openings remaining as we move towards Super Bowl Sunday. It'll be interesting to see what happens with those. There's common belief that those will be filled by the end of the week. But whatever the case is, we will see you soon. And make sure you subscribe and follow. And thank you for joining us again on Chasing Rings.